Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company at Watches and Wonders 2025, and I'm coming to you from Cartier, where we have an incredible smorgasbord of new model debuts with a few existing models present for reference. So what we're going to do in terms of reference is we're going to part the Red Sea right here, separate out the Santos collection. So I'm going to start with the well-known Santos Large and Santos Medium. We've known these since 2018. These aren't new to us. We still love them, but the new news comes in the form of a small model, and you can see how it is the same form, same aspect ratio, same proportions, but much smaller in dimensions. You've got a lush and lovely two-tone treatment in steel and yellow gold, and then right here you can see you have the full gold treatment, which, though not a large watch, is still a massive thing in the hand. Now I know you're probably going to ask, what about the bracelets? The bracelet on the last generation conventional Santos became famous for its adjustability. Well, here we don't have the remarkable articulated unlocking links, but all of them are held by screws and bars, which is always the right way to do things at the luxury level. And we do have a pull-tab quick release system that allows you to swap over to another bracelet or strap if you wish to do so. And again, you can see the size of this new small relative to the large that we know and love. And remember, the large is about I would say 39 millimeters across, not including the crown guard, 47.7 lug to lug. So that's a good reference point for dimensions. And of course, both of these small models will be quartz powered, so set it and forget it. Moving on to the more grandiose world of the Cartier Santos Dumont, where we actually have the namesake of the Santos featured here on these new extra large models. This is important because the dials are inspired by materials previously used on the aircraft of aviator Alberto's Santos Dumont. So Santos Dumont, here we pay tribute to linen, which was used to create aircraft historically back in the very earliest days of aviation. Here we have a dial dedicated to wood. It's a beautiful treatment that has a lush, lovely, and warm tone combined with a little bit of striation to give texture. The linen, of course, even includes a linen texture on its face. So not only are we talking about different colors here, but the textures at close range are very compelling. Now these continue to use the previous 430 movement, which is an ultra-thin manual wind. So yes, they are mechanical, they are manual wind. They are set up for a fairly large fit by the standards of the Santos Dumont, and I'm going to do my best now to show you real quick how that fits. Let me see if I have one that's not actually buckled, because that would be the easiest way to demonstrate this particular feature. If you know the standard Santos Dumont, I've done many reviews of them. Pull open my review, take a look, and then cross-compare the wrist fit to what you're seeing here, because this is a meaningfully larger watch without being quote-unquote a large watch. Still very thin, that hasn't changed, and to me that's really key with the character of the Santos Dumont. And you will see that we have several different variations here. So this, of course, the Santos Dumont Large with a lovely silver sunburst dial relative to wood. In case you are trying to discern the difference here, it's quite easy to tell next to the reference sample how much these new models have really changed the look and the layout of the dial at a textural level. Okay, we're going to jump over to a watch that some people call the Demoiselle. Officially, this is a Santos Dumont. It's a micro rotor. It is a skeleton, but it's a lovely stainless steel black lacquer hybrid with a skeletonized dial that features inlays of black lacquer on the actual components of the skeletonized movement and dial. It's a fantastic sort of view into the early world of Santos Dumont, and is heavier than air aviation, because we all know about the airships, the dirigibles filled with hydrogen, but the heavier than air fixed wing aviation is also part of his heritage, and you can see it right down here in the bottom corner of the watch. And this one even features silicon escapement components, so while it is very much a look back to aviation history, it's also a look forward in terms of actual watchmaking technology. So we're sticking right now with classic pieces, the Tank. These two you know well. What was the Tank Louis Cartier Large will now be the medium as of this fall. Here you can see a smaller model that now represents the smallest anchor of the collection, juxtaposed to the soon-to-be released Tank Louis Cartier, which will be the largest in the collection. And you can really see the discrepancy right there in size. But it's even more pronounced when you take the current largest offering and compare it to the new model. The new model may as well be an extra large, but officially it will not be described as such. When you look close to the dial, you can actually see that there's a lush and lovely and subtle sort of rayon lacquering to give it a little bit of texture, because it is a broad, open, empty dial. To add some visual articulation and detail, Cartier has very subtly applied outboard sunray style strakes of lacquer, and it's a really effective look in person. These are thin, as they've always been. Now, these are automatic watches, so this big watch is automatic inside, self-winding and mechanical. We're going to take a look at something that decidedly is not. But this watch is all about presentation. So you're looking here at the Tank Americaine, white gold, with a sort of semi-diamond paved fade. So you have a high level of diamond setting. It fades away as you move toward the clasp. And then you look at the bezel and the flanks of the case. This is truly a diamond paved watch. You can see a diamond capstone on the crown. Massive despite not being large. This is a watch that is for those who believe an expensive watch should feel expensive. This has an incredible amount of heft for its size, and a lot of that is down to the substantial bracelet and the clasp included. But it is an ultra white gold treatment with diamonds on bezel, crown, and bracelet. And the bracelet with a lovely sort of segmented angularity with the facets sharp and flat to reflect light in dramatic fashion. Now, the Panthère de Cartier, the quintessential 80s dress watch, you can see here we have what is now called the mini model. This is all in rose gold, and along with its larger counterpart here, this is really the best look at what they're calling a semi-diamond paved bracelet. So you start with diamond paving at the upper links, and by the time you approach the clasp, the diamonds have started to thin out, and by the time you get to the clasp, it is now solid gold. So this transition from diamond paved to sporadic diamonds to pure gold is part of the visual intrigue of these models, and you will get it in both sides. Again, a previous example in a previously offered size has been presented to show just how small the mini really is. So if you want the ultimate in petite horlogerie, that is it right there. If you want something a little bit offbeat, this is one of Cartier's very special but rarely seen shapes. So, of course, we're talking about the Baignoire, but what you're looking at now is the application of a snow setting, which is interspersing of different sizes of diamonds onto a set surface. So you can see two different sizes are available, but the snow setting is universal. And if you get close, you realize how intricately handcrafted these are, because every diamond has to be set by a gem setter. They're done with traditional techniques, they're done with heat, they're done with hand tools, very, very slowly. And these watches are all about the glitter, and they absolutely explode. While there is a uniform beauty to diamonds that are uniform in shape and size, there's also a calculated chaos to the snow setting that is designed to echo the scattered snow of a freshly fallen winter day. And of course, you can see that it is a gold watch at heart, so underneath all the diamonds, you're still getting solid gold there. Now we're going to take a quick jump to what was probably the it watch of the late 2000s and 2010s. Still going strong though. Here we've got the 36mm Ballon Bleu night and day. Two different takes. As you can see, the real difference between them, other than obviously different case metals, there's no getting around the fact that they are very different in that regard, but it's really about the dials. Whereas this in rose gold features a lovely blue mother of pearl with the new night-day indicator. Over here we have a pure aventurine glass dial with metallized radially arrayed Roman numerals, and it's just a really cool look. Everything about this is super subtle. I would say realistically this is more of a warm look. So if you're in Singapore, if you're in LA, if you're in Miami, the Riviera, this is for you. If you're London, if you're Chicago, if you're New York, if you're Toronto, then this is going to be more up your alley. But both of these are automatic winding mechanical watches. So being 36mm, it's a versatile size. There is some crossover interest there for people who want maybe something that's got a little bit of jewelry but still a mechanical heart, whereas a lot of these other pure jewelry watches are quartz. This one very much has a conventional heartbeat. Now we're going to talk about two watches that are unconventional in every way. We're going to start with the Bengal, which, as you can see, is a fully rigid bracelet. It does have gem setting. It does have a lovely Baignoire style case form, which has an incredible compound curvature and complexity to it. But what's really cool here is that we have a quick release system. There is a hinge in the bracelet midway through, and so both sides are rigid, but there's a wonderfully robust hinge that looks and feels like $1 million. So you slip your wrist in there, you snap it back together, and we're all none the wiser how you take this thing off your wrist. It's a very simple and ingenious mechanism, and frankly a lot of fun to play with. So now we're going to talk about the Tressage. This is a very fun watch because the mass of it in the hand is incredible, but also because it is a celebration of goldsmithing. This is a watch that, yes, has a quartz caliber that's very credible, and yes, it has the Cartier pedigree, but this is one of the Cartier watches you buy because it is not terribly familiar. This is one for the nerds. This is one for the connoisseurs. Cartier is all about consistency, and the longevity of many of the models means they're very familiar to us until you get to something like this. It looks a little bit like gadroons of gold, perhaps stacked coins, peas in a pod, or a very hungry caterpillar, but it's got this incredibly lush, almost organic aesthetic to it. Along with the weight, it makes for an incredible presentation, and that's before we get to the juxtaposition of black and yellow gold, which is just smoking hot. That is very cool, but I have to admit, my heart is somewhere else, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But Cartier stole my heart today. It may steal your heart with these Tank Française, because this is the first time the Tank Française, which was originally launched in 1996, has been offered as a skeleton. So we've got rose gold and we've got steel. We've got the strap in blue with the rose gold, and we've got the full bracelet. Both of these have manual wind twin barrel 72-hour power reserve movements, and they are very nicely executed. So the question is going to be what gold and what strap, but you get both options here, and they are very cool to behold under the loupe. But I said that Cartier won my heart today, and they did it with my all-time favorite Cartier model, the return of the much-loved, rarely seen Tank Asymétrique. The original came out in 1928. It was reissued as part of the collection CPCP during the 1990s and 1998. Now these are part of the Cartier Privé, which is sort of the resurrection in the modern era of the CPCP collection, Horlogerie, traditional watch collectors. So here we have yellow gold, and you'll notice that the numerals on the discs match the color of the strap here. And then you can see rose gold, and once again, the details will match the strap. Manual wind, 42-hour power reserve. There's one model that's not here, and that's the Platinum Edition, which will feature red accented numerals on their discs. The Platinum model will be a 200-piece limited edition. Mechanically, it will be identical, but it will be the most opulent version of the reborn Tank Asymétrique. Now, you might wonder, why am I not talking about prices? And there's a very specific reason. All of this is preliminary, and by the time these watches reach dealers, you may find that the prices have changed. So if you want to know, you can always reach out to, well, how about Tim Mosso at the1916company.com for all relevant details of the new Cartier watches. And until then, time out.